Vincent Van Gogh ocupa um lugar à parte na história da arte. Ele é geralmente classificado entre os impressionistas, mas suas experiências radicais com cores e luzes fazem dele um precursor do fauvismo e outros movimentos do século XX.
Em toda a sua curta vida, Van Gogh vendeu um único quadro. Hoje, suas obras batem recordes em leilões, alcançando cifras perto dos 100 milhões de dólares.
A imagem de Van Gogh junto ao público é de um artista alucinado, capaz de mutilar a si mesmo em acessos de loucura. Não há quem não conheça o episódio da orelha cortada. A realidade é um pouco mais complexa. Van Gogh gostava de gente, de contato com o povo, e toda a sua obra está permeada de um profundo sentido humanista.
O mais importante é que sua pintura revelou um mundo inteiramente novo, parecido com o mundo real, mas com um colorido e uma intensidade quase sobrenaturais. Vamos mergulhar agora neste mundo com o documentário Eu, Van Gogh, aqui em People and Arts. Fique com a gente.
A vida de Vincent Van Gogh é marcada pelas mesmas pinceladas audaciosas e cores vivas mostradas em suas pinturas. Dos anos sombrios em sua terra natal, a Holanda, até a luz do sol de Provence e seus últimos meses em Auvers, a luta do artista é cercada de casos amorosos com prostitutas, escândalos familiares, obsessões românticas e crises mentais. Porém, suas pinturas intensamente instigantes revelam um homem muito longe da loucura que criou uma nova maneira de ver o mundo. Eu, Van Gogh.
Though I'm often in the depths of misery, there's still calmness, pure harmony and music inside me. I see paintings or drawings in the poorest cottages in the dirtiest corners. I want to paint men and women with a touch of the eternal, whose symbol was once the halo, which we try to convey by the very radiance and vibrancy of our coloring. I want to get to the point where people say of my work, that man feels deeply, that man feels keenly. I don't think I'm raising my sights too high. I want to do drawings that will touch some people. Vincent Van Gogh.
Cativam as pessoas de fato. Na Galeria Nacional de Arte em Washington, mais de um século depois, milhares de pessoas enfrentam frio rigoroso para serem cativadas pela obra de Van Gogh, numa exposição com 70 pinturas emprestadas pelo Museu Van Gogh em Amsterdã.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to come see so many Van Gogh paintings at one time.
Van Gogh is just out of this world. He's my favorite artist. I'm no art critic, but it's fabulous.
It seemed like the only opportunity I'd ever get. We had to see it.
Van Gogh nunca desfrutou desta popularidade fenomenal. Ele não conseguia vender suas pinturas e escreveu sobre sua longa batalha na vida em centenas de cartas para seu irmão Theo. Felizmente, a família de Theo preservou tanto suas cartas quanto suas pinturas para contarem sua história.
Today at the Van Gogh Museum, we look after the world's largest collection of his works, with over 200 of his paintings and some 500 of his drawings. We set up our museum just 25 years ago, and when it first opened, we thought there would be about 100,000 visitors. Last year, we had over 1 million. And so the need for a renovation and a refurbishment of the building was really long overdue. And that's why, closing the museum, we had the opportunity to send an exhibition to the United States.
Daqui a pouco você vai acompanhar os primeiros anos da vida e da carreira de Van Gogh e entender como o filho de um severo pastor calvinista se tornou um mestre da cor e da luz.
Fique conosco, nós já voltamos com Eu, Van Gogh.
Nossa, as fotos ficaram ótimas.
Maravilha, eu achei que não ia sair nenhuma.
Ah, nossa lua de mel.
Pena que choveu, né?
Foi romântico, vai.
Choveu.
Foi exótico.
Mas choveu.
Com o novo filme Kodak Ultra, você não perde os bons momentos. Faça chuva ou faça sol.
Até que fez um solzinho, vai.
No último dia, fez um solão.
Com muita luz ou pouca luz, novo Kodak Ultra. Tudo o que você precisa saber sobre filme.
A simples menção do seu nome é sinônimo de controvérsia. Para
uns é um demônio, para outros um símbolo da resistência e da justiça social. Seu sonho era transformar Cuba em uma nação forte e independente. Hoje, muitos acreditam que seu projeto fracassou.
Algunas cosas de las ocurridas han sido más difíciles también y más duras de las que nos imaginábamos en aquella época.
Adorado e odiado com a mesma intensidade, ele se tornou um dos homens mais influentes e polêmicos do século XX. Fidel, um especial de vidas. Hoje à noite, em People and Arts.
Continue agora com Van Gogh aqui em People and Arts.
O mais velho de 6 irmãos, Vincent cresceu sob o olhar severo de seu pai, um ministro calvinista. Ele deixou a escola aos 16 anos e teve uma série de empregos, como funcionário de galerias de arte em Londres e Paris, e como professor numa escola para meninos da Inglaterra, onde seu interesse por Deus acabou se tornando uma obsessão. Sempre fazendo esboços, ele retornou à Holanda para estudar teologia. Logo ele estaria viajando novamente, desta vez como missionário para Borinage, uma região de mineração na Bélgica.
To be bound to Christ with unbreakable bonds, to live in and for Christ, to be one of the poor in his kingdom, steeped in the leaven, filled with his spirit.
Early on, one of his careers was as an evangelical preacher in the Borinage mining district in Belgium, which is a very, very poor area. And we know that he very much identified with his miners, and he went barefoot and lived in poverty. And in fact, it was for that reason that he was fired by his superiors. They felt he was identifying too closely with the people he was supposed to be converting.
One of the reasons why I have no regular job and why I haven't had a regular job for years is quite simply that my ideas differ from those of the gentlemen who hand out jobs.
Desiludido, rejeitado pela própria igreja, Vincent finalmente encontrou sua verdadeira vocação. Voltou sua energia obsessiva e ilimitada para a criação da arte. Ele tinha 27 anos.
Dear Theo, I shall set to work again with my pencil, and I shall draw again. I've had the feeling that everything has changed for me, and now I'm in my stride, and my pencil has become slightly more willing and seems to be getting more so by the day.
Theo havia seguido os primeiros passos de seu irmão e agora estava sendo bem-sucedido como funcionário de uma galeria de arte em Paris. Durante a vida de Vincent, ele foi uma fonte de encorajamento e, mais importante ainda, de apoio financeiro.
I'm sure you have saved my life, and I shall never forget that. I shall always owe you an infinite debt of loyalty because you held out your hand to me. Money can be repaid, not kindness such as yours.
Em 1881, Vincent retornou à casa de seus pais, onde continuou aprimorando suas habilidades, pintando cenas familiares da vida cotidiana. Entretanto, ele ficou obcecado por uma prima que enviuvara recentemente. Recusando-se a aceitar a rejeição dela, ele escandalizou a comunidade e provocou uma divisão dolorosa na família.
Father and mother instinctively, I don't say intelligently, think about me. They shrink from taking me into the house as they might from taking in a large shaggy dog who is sure to come into the room with wet paws. In short, he's a filthy beast. Very well, but the beast has a human history.
Van Gogh did really nothing by halves. He was not someone who could stand back and just let things go. So whether it was when he was a teacher or whether he was when he was working as an evangelist with the miners in Belgium, he tackled everything with this enormous conviction, enormous commitment, and so that carries through to when he's an artist. The intensity of his work comes through at all levels.
Vincent saiu de casa e foi morar em Hay, onde encontrou um mentor em seu primo Anton Mauve, uma figura importante entre os pintores holandeses. Mauve ofereceu conselhos práticos, ajuda financeira e o encorajamento necessário. Foi durante este período que Vincent começou a trabalhar com seriedade nas pinturas a óleo.
I did a painting that I think would remind you a little of Scheveningen as we saw it when we walked there together. A large study of sand, sea and sky. A big sky of delicate grey and warm white, with a single small patch of soft blue shimmering through. The sand and the sea light so that the whole becomes golden, but animated by the boldly and distinctively colored small figures and fishing smacks, which tend to set the tonal values.
The early beach scene comes straight out of Dutch landscape or seascape tradition. The color palette, the darkness, the storminess of it is somewhat traditional, but they're all his images. He's looking at fishermen, not farming peasants, but it's the same effective strata of society that interested him. The thing I find interesting about that early scene is just the energy of the paint.
The dialogue with nature was so important. He actually stood on the beach during the storm and painted as much as he could. And the sand, in fact, was blowing up onto the canvas and sticking onto the wet paint. But it's rather, this perseverance is absolutely typical of Van Gogh.
Já separado de sua família, Vincent isolou-se ainda mais. Ele desafiou não apenas a integridade de seu pai calvinista, mas também as sensibilidades mais liberais de seus próprios amigos.
I've seen through present-day Christianity only too well. That icy coldness mesmerized even me in my youth. But I've taken revenge since then. How? By worshipping the love which they, the theologians, call sin. By respecting a whore.
Família e amigos, incluindo seu mentor Ant Mauve, viraram-se contra ele quando Vincent acolheu Sean Hornick e sua filha em sua vida.
Last winter I met a pregnant woman deserted by the man whose child she was carrying. I took that woman on as a model and have worked with her all winter. I couldn't pay a model's full daily wages, but I paid her rent all the same. And thus far, thank God, I've been able to save her and her child from hunger and cold by sharing my own bread with her. It strikes me that any man worth his salt would have done the same in a case like this.
A vida com Sean tornou-se cada vez mais difícil, principalmente depois do nascimento do segundo filho dela. Depois de 18 meses juntos, Vincent a abandonou, deixando o fardo financeiro da vida na cidade para trás. Novamente sozinho, ele aventurou-se na triste província holandesa de Drenthe, buscando um modo de vida mais simples e menos caro.
Imagine a white muddy road, all black mud, with an infinity to the right and an endless heath to the left. A few black triangular silhouettes of sod-built huts, through the little windows of which shines the red light of the little fire, with a few pools of dirty, yellowish water that reflect the sky.
Mesmo em Drenthe, as pobres finanças de Vincent não eram suficientes. Ele foi obrigado a voltar para casa, onde sua família relutantemente o aceitou de volta. Ele nunca parou de pintar.
One must work on one's technique, simply to express better, more accurately, more profoundly what one feels, and the less verbiage, the better.
No inverno de 1885, Vincent começou uma série de estudos preparando-se para um trabalho que ele esperava que fosse exibido no Salão, em Paris, um endosso fundamental, se quisesse vender seu trabalho. Ele foi inspirado pelos escritores contemporâneos, principalmente Émile Zola.
Read Zola's description of women in a room in the twilight. Most of the women aged between 30 to 50. Such a somber, mysterious place. I find it splendid.
Naquela primavera, ele pintou sua maior tela até então. ela incorporava as habilidades aprendidas durante seus anos de estudo e refletia sua compaixão pelos pobres.
In a literal sense, it's his masterpiece. That is to say, it's the work which he painted to demonstrate his mastery after a number of years of apprenticeship. So for him, it was an important statement on a grand scale, comparing himself with the great masters of the past.
The point is that I've tried to bring out the idea that these people eating potatoes by the light of their lamp have dug the earth with the self-same hands they are now putting into the dish, and it thus suggests manual labor and a meal honestly earned.
The very use of the paint directly, the blockiness of it, the expressionist quality of it, I think offers a much more direct interpretation of his subjects than a traditional romantic artist would. He didn't see these as romantic figures. He saw them as noble.
If a peasant painting smells of bacon, smoke, potato steam, fine. That's not unhealthy. If a stable reeks of manure, all right, that's what a stable is all about. If a field has the smell of ripe corn or potatoes, that's probably healthy, especially for city dwellers. Such pictures might prove helpful to them.
A pintura nunca foi apresentada no salão. O pai de Vincent, o pastor Theodorus Van Gogh, morreu naquela primavera em 1885. Vincent captou suas emoções intensas numa pintura que ele realizou num único dia. A Bíblia de seu pai, grande e pesada, está ao lado da cópia bastante manuseada de Vincent do romance de Émile Zola, La Joie de Vivre. A pintura que ele dedicou a seu pai era uma declaração explícita do relacionamento conflitante dos dois. Vincent mudou-se. Ele trocou as terras enlameadas de seu lar pelas ruas pavimentadas da Antuérpia.
I've walked in many different directions along the dock several times already. The contrast is particularly marked for one who has just arrived from the sand and heath and the tranquility of a country village and has been in a quiet surrounding for a long time. It's all an impenetrable confusion.
Em pleno alvoroço da cidade, Vincent comparou seu trabalho com o de seus contemporâneos e começou a concentrar-se nos efeitos da luz.
It's odd that my painted studies look darker here in the city than in the country. Is that because the light isn't as bright in the city? I'm not sure, but it might matter more than one might think at first sight.
Ele pintava modelos vivos sempre que podia e frequentava aulas de arte.
This is a painting he did as a painting exercise in the academy in Antwerp. And like medical students with a cadaver, I'm sure someone stuck a cigarette in its mouth, and it was a little student joke.
Depois de 3 meses, Vincent estava pronto para Paris. Na verdade, ele chegou ao apartamento de Theo sem avisar.
Don't be angry with me for arriving out of the blue. I've given it so much thought, and I'm sure we'll gain time this way. In Antwerp, I didn't even know what the Impressionists were. Now I've seen them, and much admired certain Impressionist pictures.
Incentivado por sua chegada em Paris, Vincent pintou tudo, desde natureza morta até arquitetura, paisagens e retratos. Porém, mesmo na sofisticação urbana da capital francesa, ele conservou seus laços com o proletariado.
The wonderful painting of the shoes is one of his most famous early pictures, and I think it's extraordinary because it's a portrait of a pair of shoes. He managed to take one of the most humble subjects and make it into something as interesting as a portrait. He really expresses the character and wear and, if you like, the history of the shoes. The Flying Fox is an extraordinary image. It's a study, it's something he must have seen in a taxidermist shop or in a museum. We shouldn't forget that Van Gogh read a lot. He was certainly familiar with Edgar Allan Poe, and there's a kind of a Poe-like mystery about it. So there are many resonances that come from that picture.
Os autorretratos representados entre a chegada de Vincent em março de 1886 e sua partida para Provence em fevereiro de 1888 mostram a transformação não apenas do artista, mas do seu tema.
We know it was difficult for him to find models. I think he used himself literally as a model in order to try out different styles. But of course there is also a degree of psychic exploration in them. I mean, he clearly was fascinated by how his physiognomy expressed his different states of mind at different stages of his life.
A pinkish grey face with green eyes, ash-colored hair, wrinkles on the forehead and around the mouth, stiff, wooden, a very red beard, considerably neglected and mournful, but the lips are full. You will say that this resembles the face of death. It isn't an easy job to paint oneself if it is to be different from a photograph.
He's clearly making a formal statement about his standing as an artist. And then go to the others and see how they are much more sketchy and more experimental. There's a little one done in greyish colours. It's very sketchy, where he looks rather hunted or haunted as a person. There's another one done in the rather brown manner of his Dutch works, where he looks rather kind of avuncular and studious. There's another one where he's dressed up. I'm sure he borrowed Theo's suit and grey fedora to dress himself up as a city slicker. My favourite of the group is the one in a straw hat, where he's dressed up as a plein-air painter going out into the country. That's a very remarkable picture because if you look at the painting of the eyes, they're painted in red outlines with green shadows, looks forward to Fauvism, extraordinarily advanced. So there's a whole world of different pictures just in those self-portraits.
Vincent mergulhou de cabeça em um dos momentos mais interessantes da história da arte. Claude Monet, Pierre-Auguste Renoir e seus colegas impressionistas tinham criado um estilo radicalmente novo de pintura. Seus trabalhos estavam apenas começando a serem aceitos pelo público.
He's experimenting with the style of Pissarro. Then you see him playing around with Seurat's pointillism. We see him looking at Cézanne's still lives. He's really exploring all the different options that a young artist had at this time.
No próximo bloco, Vincent Van Gogh refina o estilo que o tornaria famoso na ensolarada Provence.
Mas por trás das telas coloridas, seus problemas mentais traziam nuvens carregadas. Fique com a gente aqui em People and Arts.
Essa é a garagem mais incrível do mundo. A garagem que inventou uma indústria. Que reinventou o trabalho com apenas algumas regras básicas. Trabalhar rapidamente, sem burocracia, apenas inventando. Por 6 décadas, essa garagem tem sido a oficina dos inventores de todo o mundo. E continuará sendo, pois a empresa que começou nessa garagem está voltando às suas origens. Aguarde.
A descendência maia e a influência espanhola tornaram Mérida um símbolo da riqueza histórica e cultural do México de hoje. Este ano, Mérida foi escolhida para ser a capital cultural das Américas do ano 2000. Música, dança, arte e artesanatos típicos se integram à paisagem desta incrível cidade. Mérida, a capital cultural das Américas do ano 2000, dá boas-vindas a você.
A Mona Lisa de Da Vinci. O Davi de Michelangelo. O Dom Quixote de Cervantes. Algumas coisas não podem ser imitadas. Conheça agora os novos clássicos. Clássicos do design. Hoje à noite, em People and Arts.
O universo da moda, o mundo do entretenimento. Personalidades marcantes, tribos distantes. Manhattan, Marrakech, Paris e Milão. Isto é People and Arts.
Já estamos de volta com o documentário Eu, Van Gogh.
Vincent absorveu a paisagem da França. Ele pintou Montmartre com sua pedreira, jardins e edificações. Ele visitou a Ile de la Grande Jatte, tentando se iniciar no impressionismo.
In order to write a book, do a deed, make a picture with some life in it, one has to be alive oneself. And so enjoy yourself as much as you can and remember that what people demand in art nowadays is something very much alive, with strong color and intensity. If we study Japanese art, we discover a man who is undeniably wise, philosophical and intelligent, who spends his time doing what? Studying the distance from the Earth to the moon? No. He studies a single blade of grass. But this blade of grass leads him to draw all the plants, then the seasons, the grand spectacle of landscapes, finally animals, then the human figure.
Japanese art was very voguish in Paris at this time. Many artists and collectors collected Japanese prints, not least Vincent and Theo. In this case, Van Gogh found a magazine called Paris Illustré, and on the cover there was a reproduction of a print of a courtesan from the pleasure quarters, and Van Gogh himself traced the magazine cover, and then he squared up the tracing in order to transfer it to the larger format of the painting. What he's done is to take the idea of the Japanese print and to develop even further the strong colors, the flat areas of color, and in fact surrounding the image of the courtesan you will see a number of other images taken from other Japanese prints, a bullfrog in the foreground, some cranes in the background, bamboo canes, rethinking the Japanese print in his own terms.
Após 2 anos em Paris, Vincent estava ávido para escapar para o sol brilhante de Provence. No inverno de 1888, ele mudou-se para Arles.
Everything has old gold, bronze and copper in it, and this together with the green azure of the white-hot sky imparts a delicious, exceptionally harmonious color.
It obviously had a profound effect on him and on his art, and he began to take the easel out, put it in the landscape, and work, and have these transforming canvases from that period.
Vincent percorreu a curta distância para Les Saintes-Maries de la Mer em junho. Em poucos dias, Ele havia pintado 3 telas e enchido inúmeras páginas com esboços.
The Mediterranean has the colors of mackerel. You don't always know if it is green or violet. You can't even say it's blue, because the next moment the changing light has taken on a tinge of pink or gray.
Seu trabalho havia enfrentado um longo caminho desde a praia de Scheveningen durante uma tempestade.
Now that I've seen the sea,